Jennifer Crumbley's trial continues today, so we're following that. We have the latest on the testimony of the mother of the Michigan high school shooter. She's facing manslaughter charges herself now, allegedly for facilitating the massacre, as we've been telling you. Now, the prosecutors today questioned an officer who spoke to Jennifer and James Crumbley, the two parents, after the shooting. And here we have some audio from the moment that they were caught hiding from police. Listen.
Keep those hands where they're at. One hand, bring on hands. Turn around. On your stomach. What's your name? James. James what? Crumbley.
All right, so there you go. From that particular testimony, we're bringing some more testimony in a moment. Crumbley pleading not guilty to the 4 charges she's facing, involuntary manslaughter among them. We're joined by criminal defense attorney Brian Claypool now. This is getting a lot of attention, understandably so, because we've never seen something like this, as we've reported, where, the mother of a school shooter is facing charges herself. As the trial continues and you hear more and more testimony, what are your impressions, Brian? What do you think?
Hey, Connell, always great to see you. Yeah, this is a groundbreaking case. I don't think we've ever seen a criminal prosecution for the parents of a young man, a minor, who actually engaged in a mass shooting. It's groundbreaking, and under normal circumstances, Connell, I would say that the prosecution is going to have a heavy haul. Why? Because the parents would usually argue, hey, look, there was a gun in the house. We had it locked up. We didn't know that our son would do something like this. We didn't have a violent past, so we shouldn't be held accountable, right? Mm-hmm. But this case really has extraordinary circumstances, not just ordinary circumstances. And what I mean by that is these two parents bought a 15-year-old a semi-automatic weapon to start with. Under Michigan law, a 15-year-old can't even have a weapon unless there is direct supervision at all times. And then, Connell, we have a situation where the school tipped off to the parents, hey, your son is looking on the internet for ammunition. What do you make of that? And this text message could be the most critical piece of evidence in the case, where the mom, Jennifer, sends a note to Ethan and says, I'm not mad at you at all, LOL, and you just got to make sure you don't get caught. And then the last piece of evidence that I think is going to be devastating for Jennifer Crumbley is the drawing. The school calls her and the husband into the school, and the drawing was just chilling. I'm sure you've talked, blood everywhere. I need help. Somebody's going to die. I mean, most reasonable parents on a jury, Connell, are going to say to themselves, what would I do in that situation? And what most would do is pull your son out of school, get them mental health treatment, and number 3, get that gun away from him. Yeah, the gun that was also depicted, pretty much a match for the gun that was used in the shooting as well. More testimony now from today, this time about the mother's demeanor, essentially, the detective that was investigating with these comments. Let's listen to a little bit more of that, and you can comment on this aspect of it. Take a listen.
Was Jennifer Crumbley crying?
No.
Was Jennifer Crumbley, what were her mannerisms or gestures at that point?
She seemed irritated and frustrated. I remember taking notes down, and she made a statement to me saying that lives were lost today and he's going to have to suffer. And I found that odd.
He found that odd. She said lives were lost today and he's going to have to suffer. Wasn't crying, seemed irritated. What do you say, Brian?
Yeah, Colin, that's a great point. That's another piece of potentially devastating evidence for Jennifer Crumbley. I mean, you've seen over the years, Connell, videotape evidence, audio tape evidence, text messages. That's the best proof of evidence in a criminal trial. Not so much the testimony of the defendant. And here, she just comes off callous, like she's not crying about young lives lost, and she's inconvenienced. And that, Connell, is not a normal reaction. Yeah. And unfortunately for her, you probably have a lot of parents on that jury. You're a parent, I'm a parent. What's our visceral reaction to a situation like that? It's going to be like, oh, my God, this is awful. It's terrible. I can't believe this happened. Can't believe my son did this.
Do you think the dad has more on the line here? They're trying them separately, which is interesting, right? The dad's trial is going to be later, but I guess he bought the gun, right? So is that, or they're both, potentially in trouble? How do you see that split?
Yeah, I think they're both equally in trouble because the mom is vocal at school. She She walks away. She doesn't, for example, even look in the backpack. She doesn't, look for the gun. I mean,
Right.
Mom will argue, hey, the school didn't look for the gun either, but it's their child. And look, Connell, at the end of the day, Ethan says to Jennifer, the mom, she called the semi-automatic weapon his new beauty. And that's just going to be chilling to this jury. And we have an onslaught of mass shootings at schools. And the case is important because it tells parents, you've got to have a stake in the game, right? And if there are red flags that your child might pose a risk to students at school, you owe a duty to preempt that. That's why this case is so important.
Could be, precedent setting potentially. Brian, thank you. Brian Claypool on that. We'll keep following this case and others. We also have other news we have to get to.